Hello. It is the last day of July, and so if I'm going to get in a late July garden tour, it's got to be today. Gratefully, um, the construction crew next door is taking the morning off, and even though it's still pretty warm, it's before 9 a.m. and it's 73, so pretty warm for here. I'm sure that would feel wonderful in other places, but and overcast, and it's just perfect. So let's do it. I thought we'd start over here in the new flower patch. The zinnias are looking amazing. The dogtail flower too. Oh, Ike. These are mostly the in here, the variety State Fair, and the ones that are in full bloom are the ones I started in my greenhouse. But this group down here were started from direct seed, and as were all of these in here where it's not as full. I am not sure what the difference is, other than these do get a little more sun. Here, buddy, move out of the way. Come on. And these get more water, and I'm wondering, they're also interplanted with marigolds, and I don't know if that might make a difference either. Anyway, regardless, these giant creatures that are bigger are, oh, what variety are they? Something giant. They're so much fun. They just are, in comparison, you can see how big they are in comparison to my hand. They're just so big. I love the smaller ones, but I will for sure be planting some of those bigger ones. You can see back there this sad little white flower. They're gladiolas planted along the back here. Some of them have bloomed. My dogs were chasing a snake, and they decided to go back there, and they knocked over a bunch of my gladiolas. The dogs have definitely caused some problems in the garden, and you'll see some of that. But they get really bored when it's so hot they can't move, and then in the evenings when they can, they tend to be a little naughty. So we're trying to help them. So the honeysuckle is looking great. None of these sunflowers have bloomed yet, but they're all looking healthy and happy. The lobelia looks great, and the stalk has started to bloom. So you can see this one is in full bloom, and some of the other ones are starting to fade. And this is Sweet William right here, and it has Ike's right here. He thinks that if I'm down here, I need to be petting him. So all in all, very pleased with this garden. The little baby marigolds are starting to get bigger and bloom, and yes, very happy with this. Oh, I even have this purple flower right here is lupin, and it's blooming out of normal season, but you know what? I'll take it. Over here in the herb garden, things are starting to fill out and get big and beautiful. A reminder that this was just planted last fall. All of these plants were seedlings that I purchased about this time of year, and then prepped the bed, and they got put in late summer or fall. Even the lavender. So the lavender is very happy. There are so many pollinators in my yard right now. This little part right here that looks weedy is actually, it's too early for the chamomile to be open, and it does have some weeds in there. And I don't think I'm gonna grow chamomile on in the other bed on the other side of the garden. So I don't think I'll be growing German chamomile in here again. I'm gonna let the feverfew do that job. And honestly, probably gonna pull this out and mulch and maybe put in another herb right there. Echinacea is a favorite of the bumblebees. There's always several on my echinacea until I come and chase them away. They come back pretty quickly though. The rest of the herb garden is healthy and happy. I have been harvesting quite a bit from it, and you can't tell. This big open patch, the dogs run through here, and so it sort of acts like a path, but I am trying to get things like, I would like my calendula to sort of fill in this area, and so there is some out here and I'm letting that happen. And I'm gonna start seeding it there so that the echinacea can eventually take over this whole bed, and then the calendula can just be around the bed. So that's sort of the plan for right there. And that will take, you know, some time, and that's okay. The giant sunflower is still sort of in bloom. Oh, you really can't see that. Well, it is still giant. It's producing giant seed heads that I will harvest seeds from eventually, but and the smaller ones, oh, they need to be deadheaded. They're looking a little sad, but I'll deadhead them and they will probably produce a few more flowers, but we'll put some new ones in there for the fall too. The green stalk is more amazing and wild than I ever thought it could be. I am now harvesting green beans off of it every day. They are bush beans, so that will not last for much longer, another couple of weeks. But the marigolds and the beans have just filled it out, and I haven't decided what to put in there for the fall, but if you have any suggestions, let me know. The bee balm is starting to fade. This is also called bergamot, and it is also a favorite, as the name suggests, of the pollinators. And currently there is, oh, I can see 4 bumblebees on here right now just by glancing up. So don't tell them that it's fading. They don't know. They don't care. This new little garden is just so very happy. So this part right here, these are all shade tolerant plants because this planter is in shade almost the entire day. And I'm going to put I've taken down the rain gutter, and I'm going to put down, that's going to come off, and I'm going to put a rain chain down into that area. And then I'm still looking for something or some way to put a plant up on there to give the whole thing some height, but I haven't figured out what to do there. And then we have a renter that lives in the mother-in-law unit of our house. This is her chair, this is her door and her chair, and I think she likes the new little addition next to her front door. And then over here, this is our back door. My child has left a bucket here. This bed has rebounded nicely. The marigolds have sort of reached out into where they can get some sun. You can see they kind of are like leaning out. So I've just let them do that. There's another little friend taking a nap or gathering up some pollen from some marigold. The rest of this bed is these plants are lovage, which were extensively damaged during the heat wave, and now they're looking, they still have some yellowing and some, but they're looking much better. You would think I wouldn't know what plants were called. Nasturtium, the nasturtium, and there's some lupin in here, and even a little lupin bloom right there. And it all seems to be much happier than it was even a couple weeks ago. And I did a video on my fall seedlings a couple of days ago, and you can see even just in the last couple of days, the germination rate has increased. They're getting bigger. Some of these sunflowers, I turned them around because this side was against the house and it wasn't getting great germination. We'll see, a couple more have popped up since I turned it around. We'll see how that goes. Regardless, I think I'll have enough sunflowers. Over here in the flower bed of frustration. Oh y'all, I want to show you this. I thought he'd be gone. Bees like to take, like they just hang out and take naps and rest. Isn't that so sweet? Oh, I just love bumblebees. I have cut, intensively pruned the German chamomile. It does still have blooms on it, but it's too early in the morning for them to be open. Zinnias will bloom in here, so that's good to know, at least on this end of the bed, as opposed to that end gets a little bit more sun. There's some more German chamomile, and some other things still thinking about growing. Down here at this end, not a lot is happening, but the sweet peas decided to at least attempt. So I want to do a video on why I'm doing this, what the purpose of this flower bed is, and I'll get to that soon. So this area is looking a little bit more full than it did. Thanks, Ox. Ox is our rooster. My friend Marissa gave me 3 of these pots. They're all 3 in here, and you'll see them, that somebody had just offered to her, and they're beautiful ceramic pots. Somebody had painted them blue, and the blue paint is just flaking off, and I'll just continue to let that happen. So I planted all 3 of them with a coreopsis, which is the yellow plant over here that I couldn't remember the name of. So this is a coreopsis, and then I've planted 3 more. So there's one, and there's one, all in these beautiful pots with some other flowers down at the bottom. And they look straight and upright instead of ferny and all fluffy like my other, like the yellow coreopsis, because they were tight together in the nursery, and that's how they grow, because they just grow up. That's the only place they have. They will come back next year, and they will be full and fun, and that whimsical, those whimsical fern-like foliage next summer. This zinnia got moved here because it wasn't getting enough sun where it was. Oh, I bought this zinnia as like a rehab zinnia. It only had 1 bloom on it, and it was like I thought it was a peach, and I thought it was so pretty. And when it bloomed red after I got it back healthy again, I was so surprised. And it turns out that it's got a gorgeous fade on that. Isn't that so beautiful? So I wasn't totally out of my mind when I thought I was buying like a peachish plant. The fade on it is sort of a peachy color. But it was a fun little surprise. Plants are always surprising me in good and bad ways, but mostly good ways. These newly planted zinnias are happy in there, and this bed is finally catching up, and these giant zinnias, oh, they're so fun. Ike, hi buddy. Over here, this second year dahlia is clearly happy, very happy. Oh, she's so beautiful. And the nasturtium, the marigolds, I don't know if anyone remembers, but there were marigolds tucked down in there. I ended up pulling them out and putting them there and there, because I mean, it just wasn't fair to them to be all stuck down and having those nasturtium grow all over them, and you can't even tell that they were removed from the bed. So all right, so there are some changes over here in the vegetable garden too. Well, there are always changes, but I am working on trying to make the garden structure a little bit more pleasing and a little bit more functional. So this is the entrance, and I'm trying to make like a thinking about what I can make to have a true entrance to the garden. I never really considered the garden having an entrance until I realized that I always came to right here to come in. Of course, I mean, it's completely open. It's not every path goes to the outside, and I use them all, but always when I approach the garden, it's from right here. So I would like to maybe put in an arbor or something. I haven't quite decided, but I found this table. It's built out of 2x4s. It's very heavy. And I used to have a table in my garden, always really liked it. And when I moved to this house, I left the table in the other garden. So my friend also gave me more of these boxes. Some of them will become planters, like that one that needs to be flipped. And these two over here, one that also needs to be flipped, but one that's got zucchini in it that's loving life. So I haven't quite decided what to do, but I am happy to have storage for the extra hoses. They were just laying on the ground. And that green bin has pruning shears and spades and things like that are easier access than where I normally keep them, which is in my pump house. This, I just wanted to show you this planter over here. It has potatoes in it, but well, of course I am excited that the potatoes are up. I wait all year for this weed to show up in my garden, and there's only one little patch of it over in my herb garden. It's called purslane, and it's so delicious. It's one of my favorite greens, and it just grows wild, and so I was happy to see it in with my potato. While the potato's getting big, I can harvest purslane. Speaking of potatoes, this is the bed that had the potatoes in it. It has been flipped, and it looks like a mess right now, but it will not soon. So these plants right here are all the newly planted potatoes coming up, and I will be able to, as they get a little bit taller, I will remulch this entire bed, which will smother out the weeds and give the potatoes plenty of space, and they will fill in, and these will be harvested at the end of the season. So I am getting cherry tomatoes off of my brownberry cherry tomato plant. Let's see, there's quite a few on here. Lots of green fruit, but also plenty of opportunities for garden snacks. It's good every time. It's never not good. The tomatillas have released themselves into their full wild beauty, and are taking up this part of the garden quite well. Still some kale, a few onions still left. I've been pulling these as they've matured. And then there's another zucchini that hasn't germinated, and some other, right in here. Sorry, I wasn't looking through my camera. Honestly, I can't remember what I planted right there, but I did. Right here where the straw is moved away near the soaker hose so that it will stay wet. I have planted something in there that hasn't germinated. It'll be a surprise. Over here, the coriander is nearly ready to harvest. Some of it probably is, just a few more days. Obviously still getting lots of kale, and the cranberry beans have finally decided to grow up the trellis. So a few of them, not all of them quite yet. Some of them are still thinking about whether they're interested in life. They are my slowest beans, while most of my other beans have flowered and set fruit, or not, maybe they haven't set fruit, but they've at least flowered. These cranberry beans are slow. I don't know that I will grow them again, but we'll see what they taste like. Let me back up. This is a hard view too. The sunflowers have been harvested and they are drying out so that I can harvest the seeds. And the beans that are growing up them are also cranberry beans. They're doing just about the same. I left the stalks because the beans are growing up them, but the sunflowers are putting off little shoots. I don't know that I've ever had a mammoth type sunflower do that before. So that made me happy that I didn't just need to leave dead stalks for the beans to grow up. Basil and fennel is doing great. The tomatoes, they are looking like a wild mess, which is exactly what we want them to look like this time of year. And I wanted to come in here. I have some ripe tomatoes, and yesterday I came to check this one right here. This is a pineapple tomato. Let me check its shoulder. So if you aren't certain, like on these type of tomatoes, look how big that thing is. Oh yeah, it's ready. Come on, baby. There we go. Yeah, my first full-size tomato of the season. I cannot wait to eat it. The variety is pineapple. I've never grown this variety before, so maybe we'll just do a video of me slicing it. And if you aren't certain, if you're growing a tomato that isn't like a regular red tomato and you aren't certain, you check the shoulder, which is up here, to see if it's soft. And if it is, like, you can, then it's ripe, it's ready to pick. So that is my first. It's got a little bit of it was sitting against something else right there, but otherwise, she's so beautiful. So thanks for picking my first full-size tomato with me. I've got several others really close, maybe even needing to be harvested today. And it is the beginning of our full-size tomato season. The patty pan are ridiculous as always. I have already harvested more patty pan than I can count. If you are not familiar with patty pan squash, let's get in here and get one. This is what they look like. They're also called sometimes sunburst, and they are so much fun. And they are a delicious summer squash. People ask me how to eat them. You eat them just like you would like a yellow crookneck. You can saute them, shred them. We cube them and put them in everything. Sauces, they're really good shredded with eggs. As a sauteed or a roasted vegetable, it holds up really well. It's just, yeah, they're my favorite summer squash. I love zucchini and I eat a lot of zucchini, but patty pan has my heart, and they produce more than zucchini does. If you can believe it, I still have frozen patty pan in my freezer that's going to go to my chickens when I get around to it on the next really hot day. But they'll be happy to have frozen patty pan, because I froze so much of it last year that I still had some. So now I don't need any frozen patty pan. I've got like 30 of these in my house right now. The zucchini, I have planted a few more successions of zucchini. It's producing zucchini, it's doing great, but they have never looked quite right. So they're like, their edges are crispy, they're getting plenty of water. They're getting the same amount of water as the patty pan. They should look more like this. That heat wave just did a number on them. So they are producing, and I do have plenty of zucchini, but I am planting new plants. I wanted to walk around to the outside here. We'll put my little friends down here. Oh, I can see from right here. Let's see if I can get in there. These plants right here are my loofah, and I've put a trellis in there for them to climb. They just sat there and did nothing for, they germinated, and then after the heat wave, they were really little and they just did nothing. I finally gave them some blood meal to see if I could get them to jumpstart again, and that has happened, and they are starting to take up that trellis. So I've never grown loofah before. I've tried many times. This is as far as I've ever gone. This is further than I've ever gone with loofah. So we will see. If you don't know what loofah is, it's a gourd that you grow, and if you're using a loofah sponge, that's what it is. It's a slice from a gourd. So I'm hoping to be able to grow my own loofah gourds, dry it out, and then have loofah. All right, moving over here, all but the two, what I was calling the baby cabbages, but now they're not baby cabbages anymore, have been harvested. The broccoli is getting bigger, and there's some beets in here, but there's nothing else planted in right here. It's waiting for some fall planting to come in. And then coming down, I can hardly walk down this aisle anymore. The cucumbers, these are 2 plants, can you believe it? 2 plants of the white martini variety from Territorial. And I am getting, just off of these 2 plants, like 6, 7, 8 small, they're little. Let's see if there's one in here. I like them for a lot of reasons. One, there's a little one right there. It'll kind of, even in really intense heat, they are not going bitter, which is what I was specifically looking for. We harvest them just a little bit. Oh, more like that size. And they're one of the most delicious cucumbers I've ever had. I highly recommend white martini. It also makes it easier to find them because they're a different color than the foliage, which we've all lost cucumbers and they've gotten giant, and I mean, they're food for the chickens at that point, right? The Malabar spinach is starting to get pretty high up on the trellis. All of our family have now tried it, so we now know that we don't care for it as a green, even the little tiny leaves. None of us really like the texture of it, but it's so pretty, and my chickens will eat it. And I haven't tried it in cooked. We did put it in a smoothie, and that was okay. I think I put too much in. I think I'd put a little bit less in. The texture was a little bit weird. All right, so we have beets in here. This is the broccoli. Let's move over I have to make my way past this giant tomato. John Henry's black beans, for how much they struggled in the beginning, they are flowering and clearly very healthy. The first run of the chocolate sunflowers are looking, I mean, there's just a handful planted right there in the garden, but I'm excited for them to bloom. Over here, this wild mess. I love it when the garden becomes a wild mess. Purple bush beans, which are like, they have beans on them and they're just not quite big enough yet. Interestingly, I feel like they might be getting too much water from the soaker, but so I would not maybe plant beans in the same bed as things that need a lot of water, like my watermelon and then these yard-long cucumbers. So that's something to be thinking about. The Eggplant is looking happy, healthy blooms. It looks like it's starting to maybe think about set fruit down here. Oh yeah, look at that, a tiny eggplant. We're gonna have eggplant soon. And I just love, I know I always say this, but I just love fennel fronds. I like to eat them. I like to look at them. I wanted to come down here and show you this. That is a sugar baby watermelon, and it is about ready to harvest. I have to look. I read somewhere, this is my first successful watermelon that I've ever grown. I've tried a couple times, but I have learned that it's really hard to grow full-sized watermelons here. If you want to grow watermelons, you got to grow these little ones. And somebody said when the tendril closest to it is dried up, but there are no tendrils like this one. It's not dried up. Anyway, I will do some more reading before I decide to harvest it, but it is the size of the cucumbers that we buy. So, and there are no more on this vine. I'll take it though. I'll take one watermelon. There are other flowers still, so maybe more will set fruit. And these are oh, let me turn around. I just noticed there's this martini this part of it has snuck through this trellis, and there's a good size one. These are the yard-long cucumbers, and they are taking up the trellis, and they are producing cucumbers. We've already harvested a few. They're weird looking, friends. Let me find one. Look at those. Oh, sorry. But they're delicious. We really like them. So we're gonna let we let them get just a little bit bigger than that. Sorry, can't keep dropping my camera down because I'm not looking through it. I'm looking at the plants. This is another white martini cucumber. It's doing great. These are the yard-long beans, and they have started to take up the trellis. And I have high hopes for them. Oh, one more thing I wanted to show you in the main garden is update on the cucamelon. I'm still hoping, friends. I'm still hoping they're getting like ever so slightly longer. Okay, coming across the lane here to my pepper plants and winter squash. So I fertilized the peppers, and I don't know if you can tell that they're like twice as big. Some of them are, some of them are not. Because in the process, and you can see I now have dog fencing and cages all through here, my dogs decided to dig up a bunch of the peppers, or dig up where I had harvested or where I had fertilized them. So I do have peppers that are turning red and getting ready to harvest, and we have eaten a few of them just here and there, but they seem to have recovered from their run-in with the naughty puppies and are a little bit better protected now. We haven't had any incidences since I put up. Isn't it funny, so you'll notice this fence throughout my garden, and it really does keep the dogs out. They just seem to need that little bit of a barrier to let them know this is not a place for you. Over here, these three, the one in the back is kind of limping along, but it is growing. So these three winter squash, still nothing in these beds. I'm hoping to change that today. And the spaghetti squash over here is taking off. And that's it for the late July garden tour. Lots of food coming in right now. Going into August, I'll have more food than I know what to do with, and it'll be time to start in thinking about processing it. And it's why we do it. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for coming with me to walk through my garden. I love sharing it. and thanks for celebrating my first full-size tomato of 2021 with me. I'm so excited and so surprised that there was that variety, but I'll do a video cutting into it and tasting it. Okay, I'll talk to you next time.